What is going on, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another video. Today we are ranking every single Pixar movie ever. Now, I've spent the last week watching every single Pixar movie just because I have no life and nothing better to do. And plus I wanted to see the ones I hadn't seen already, and I kind of wanted to see how the old ones stack up with the new ones, right? Because a lot of these movies were a big part of my childhood, so I kind of want to relive some of that and see if these movies were just made for kids or they still hold up with me as an adult. Now, of course, Pixar movies they are made for kids. They are kids films, but they still are applicable to adults. Like literally anyone can watch a Pixar movie and enjoy it. Because as a kid, it's just a fun cartoon, but there is adult themes running throughout and deeper meanings in most of these films. But yeah, man, if you are new, hit that subscribe button. Be sure to leave a like, and we're gonna get into ranking these Pixar movies. So I watched them in release order, right? And I thought, obviously here it's not in release order, as you can see, but it's more fun to rank them randomly than to go from Toy Story to Luca. But I did watch them in the release order. Now, the first one here is Up, and for me, Up is one of the most overrated films ever. Like, people be sticking it in the S tier. The first 10 minutes of Up can easily sit in S tier, but the rest of Up kind of is a C, D tier. For me, it averages out to a B. I like some of the characters in Up, and like I said, the first 15 minutes is really sad and emotional. The dogs talking are really funny, but there's weird plot holes in Ups that makes no sense, right? Like, why is Carl so old, but his hero looks to be like the same age as him, even though he was already 20 or 30 when Carl was watching him as a kid, right? You'd assume this guy's a good at least 20 years older. So Carl's 80, what, like 75, 80, and the other guy's what, 100? And he's in better shape than Carl, which was a little weird. The bird, I could take it or leave it. Russell is, again, a take it or leave it character. I do like the talking dogs. I think that's a creative plot line. But yeah, very iconic movie, of course, and a lot of people will stick in S. For me, it's just a B tier movie. Moving on to Toy Story. This one is easily, for me, heading straight to S tier, without a doubt, an S tier movie. Rewatching this was amazing. Like, as a kid, I don't think I appreciated it that much, because if I didn't rewatch this movie, I probably would have dropped it down to like maybe an A tier. But I love the storyline. It's so simple and basic, with Woody being jealous that Buzz is the brand new toy and Andy's new favorite, and Buzz doesn't even know he's a toy, and the whole realization of that, how they go from enemies to friends. You've got the iconic song in there, man. I mean, I just really enjoyed watching this film. Like, Sid is a fitting villain because he's so ugly and he's just so evil. Like, what he does to those toys and makes them into these weird contraptions. That shit scared me as a kid. But it's also funny how they just absolutely terrify him by coming to life and scaring him good. That was amazing. This film sits in S tier for me. Next, we have Monsters University. I didn't enjoy Monsters University that much the first time I watched it, but rewatching it, it goes into B tier. I think it's the only prequel Pixar I've made up until this point, and I do like how we kind of get more of Mike Wazowski's story. Obviously, Monsters Inc. is more Sully the main character and Mike the supporting character, and I like how we see Mike's rise of how he was always this underlooked little green guy, and he's such a great iconic character. The movie has a fun concept of the scare games and shit like that. It does have a little bit of a flawed plot because we obviously know they're gonna work at Monsters Inc. regardless if they win. Sully is a bit of a meh character at the start, where he's just a bum who's living off his family name. I would have never taken Sully to be like that. Like, maybe that's why I didn't like it the first time, because that's not how I pictured it when he would have been younger. But yeah, just a really fun movie. A good solid effort of a movie. I did enjoy it rewatching it. Next, we have Finding Dory. I don't know why this is in a weird order like that, but Finding Dory for me is going to go sit right in next to Monsters University. A lot of the sequels from the really great first movies tend to be a B. I don't really like Dory as a main character because she is a little irritating. I think she worked perfectly as like Marlin's co-character. Like, as the sidekick, she was great. But this movie is almost the worst version of the first one, where Marlin and Nemo's role is kind of irrelevant. The octopus, Hank, is a great character. I do love the octopus. He makes the film so much better. The other characters they had, like the beluga whale and the whale shark, are pretty cool. The seals, or the sea lions, whatever, are hilarious. Like Gerald, and the one that's played by Idris Elba, and the Rock, and that shit is fucking hilarious. I love that scene in this movie. This movie is solid, but like a B tier is probably where Finding Dory belongs. Finding Nemo. Well, we have our second S tier easily for me. Finding Nemo is one of the most rewatchable Pixar films there is. Like, every time I watch this film, there's a scene in it where I'm like, I forgot that was in there. Rewatching it this time, the scene I forgot was the whole Bruce smells the blood and then he goes absolutely berserk. But I love how they incorporate every single sea creature almost in there, like all the main ones, the stingray, the turtles, the pelican, the seagulls. You have a blockfish, you have an anglerfish, the sharks. There's even a mention to dolphins. You got the whales, the jellyfish. Like, you've literally got everything. And I love how almost all of them have their own little role in the community. And also, like, if you think about it, the fish tank with Gil and all of those guys in is a mini asylum because they're all crazy in there. And by the way, Gil is also a great character. Then you have the damn seagulls, mine. That shit is pretty funny too. But for me, Finding Nemo is an S tier. I think it's actually the first movie I watched in the cinema. Did I mention that? I don't remember. Next we have Cars 2. Oof. I know I said sequels are belonging in B, but Cars 2... Oh man, Cars 2 is gonna go and sit in the D tier. And I might move it down to F tier based on where everything else ranks. Like, I know Pixar movies inherently are for kids, right? We mentioned this at the start of the video, but this movie was so far away from what Cars 1 is. Like, I really enjoyed Cars 1, and I know a lot of people don't like Cars 1 as much, but I really enjoyed Cars 1. And this one, they took one of the more annoying characters in Mater and made it Mater's film. They should have just called it Mater, because, like, he's the main character. They turned him into James Bond. Like, this franchise got Fast and Furious-ized, right? Like, Fast and Furious used to be about the racing and about family, and then all of a sudden it turned into them being fucking secret agents and daredevils and shit. This is kind of what happens in number 2. It's just wacky. It doesn't make a lot of sense. And then, like, the secret agent lady starts flying around at the end. I wish it was more of Lightning McQueen's film. And it also comes in at such a weird point. Like, Lightning McQueen has now just won his 4th Piston Cup, and I'm like, bruh, why didn't I get to see that? Like, why don't I get to see him winning these cups? But it is what it is. And then, of course, Doc Hudson is just gone. He's off the face of the earth. He's now scrap metal. We don't know what the hell's happened to him. No even mention of him, really. He's just dead, I guess. I don't know. They didn't mention that, which kind of pissed me off. But, like, yeah, this movie, I know Cars sold a lot of merchandise towards kids, so I guess they tried to kidify the films as much as they could. Not my favorite. Next, we have Incredibles. The Incredibles, I will say when I rewatched this movie, it wasn't as good as when I was a kid, but it still sits in S tier pretty comfortably. It's just so iconic, and the concept of the movie is so unique, because in most other movies, it's about superheroes finding themselves and turning into that hero. In this movie, it's the fall of heroes, right? Like, they get put into have to go into hiding, they get made illegal. It's such an interesting concept of having them adjust to regular life. And watching Mr. Incredible punch his little shrimp dick boss through about 50 walls was fucking great. I love that scene. And Edna Mode is a great character as well. I will say at times Elastigirl's a little annoying with her morals, but it is what it is. Violet is an okay character. I like Dash. Elastigirl's a good character. The supporting characters in Frozone, Edna, and Mirage are all great characters. And then Syndrome, I didn't really like him as a kid. He did scare me a little, and still, he's just a weird villain. I don't like him. He's just a cunt, which I guess makes him a good villain. And there's some great scenes, like where Mr. Incredible just picks up the car and the kid's just looking at him. And then I love how they make little references to, like, Capes being bad, and then it comes back to the forefront where Syndrome gets sucked in. And then you also find out that Syndrome has killed all the other superheroes and shit. It's just a really great film. One of the best superhero films ever, if you ask me. And it's even got its own little iconic theme tune, easy S tier. Next, Ratatouille. Ratatouille is a really good film, and it kind of sits between A and B. I'm a nice guy, so I'm gonna round it up to A, because I do think it's better than Up and these two. The concept of the film is really interesting. I love Remy as a character. He is a little schizophrenic with seeing, you know, Gusteau just popping up all over the place. It is a really fun movie. It does feel a little long, and it does kind of lack the magic of some of the ones in the S tier, and it's not as iconic. But still a really good film. Some of the supporting characters is a take it or leave it situation, though. Like, Linguini, I think, is the other main guy. He's kind of a meh character. I don't really like him as a character. Same with the bad guy. He's just like this little shrimpy sous chef guy who's really salty about not getting the restaurant. And the other rats are also a little irritating at times. But I still think it's a really good movie, and it sits comfortably at A. Next, The Good Dinosaur. Honestly, The Good Dinosaur is the most meh film that they ever made. It's gonna go sit right next to Cars 2. Like, I think this one is blatantly a kid's film. Like, I didn't really see any deeper meaning to it. It was almost like a really bad version of Lion King with a little bit of Ice Age mixed in, I guess. Like, I don't know why that comes to mind like that, but it does. The main character dinosaurs, one, they're really ugly for some reason. I don't know why. The whole concept of humans being dogs I didn't really like, even though, the little guy is kind of cute and he's the best character in the whole thing. The dad dying was just such a typical thing, and the dad was the best character up until the point he dies, which was just disappointment. But yeah, this movie is the most typical movie. The T-Rexes are like ranch workers. They're like cowboys. Like, it was really weird. It goes in deep. Like, it wasn't a bad watch, but I don't think I'm ever gonna watch that movie again. So yeah, it's alright. Next we have Cars. Now Cars also, like The Incredibles, teeters the line between A and S, but the soundtrack is putting it all the way up to S tier for me. Cars is a film that for some reason a lot of people hate on, and I don't know why. It's so good. Like, Lightning McQueen is a really good character. He's one of my favorite Pixar characters. Chicken the King are great characters. Doc Hudson is a really good character, and I get Meta is kind of an annoying character. Sally is also a meh character. Some of the other guys in that town are also meh. The little forklift guy Guido is a great character as well. He's really a good character actually. But I like the concept of the film. I never get bored watching this no matter how many times I watch it. So for me it goes in S. And it's really to me kind of capping off the era where they were dropping banger films after banger films like in the early 2000s. But yeah, we're going to move on to Cars 3. So all the Cars films getting ranked early here. And Cars 3, like, for me, it's got to go sit down here in D. Like, I know a lot of people will say Cars 2 was a travesty, which it was, right? You know what? I'll give Cars 3 a C. I'll give Cars 3 a C because it is better than Cars 2. At least they go back to racing. The fact of the series, I just don't like the fact we missed all of Lightning McQueen's bulk of his career. Like, of how when he was actually good. Like, he turned into a washed up racer. Jackson Storm, the guy who takes over him, is just a cunt. Like, he's just an asshole. I guess kind of like Lightning McQueen was back in the day. They bring back Chick and the King in some aspects. Like, Chick is like a presenter, and the King is a coach for Dynaco. Like, he's the chief. They actually pay homage to Doc Hudson in this one. And, like, he goes back and he meets his old crew chief, and there's a scene with all the old races and stuff in it, which is really cool. But you can still see that this movie is more aimed at kids than a general Pixar movie usually is. The whole ending, I'd love to have seen Lightning McQueen actually win the race on his own, but obviously he tags in his coach, who then suddenly wins her first race ever. The whole Demolition Derby scene was a little wacky. And it kind of just transitions Lightning McQueen into the Doc Hudson role. I think that was a decent end to the series, and I don't think they're going to make another Cars film, or at least I hope they don't make another Cars film. Next, we have A Bug's Life. For me, A Bug's Life, it's a solid B for me. Like, it could be on A, but like, it's a B. I'm gonna go with B. I think Popper is one of the best villains in all of Pixar with his fucking monologues. The trees grow the food, the ants pick the food, the grasshoppers eat the food, you know? I don't know if that's the actual saying. Although he is obviously played by a sex offender, which we didn't know at the time. Besides the point, it's a really good movie. It does have typical movie tropes in it, which kind of bored me a little. Like, as a kid, I would have put it in B, and as an adult, it's going to sit in B pretty comfortably. It could move up to A. I do think it's better than these three, but it's a solid movie and a solid effort. Okay, Incredibles 2 is another really average sequel that's going to go sit in B. I don't think it was bad, but, like, they take what they had in the first one and kind of poo-poo all of it. Like, Elastigirl was against superheroes, and now she is the main superhero, and she's a cool character. My favorite part of it was Jack's powers. Frozone plays literally no part in this movie, which was disappointing. And the villain is very meh. Like, the screenslaver, and then it's the sister. It was kind of a meh plot line, not one I enjoyed the ending to. So for that reason, it goes in B. I'd have loved to see them take on the Underminer. Like, I know there's a game that I used to play as a kid on PS2. It's called like Rise of the Underminer, and it's like a continuation of when the end of the first movie. And that was a really great game that I enjoyed. But I would have been cool to see them go more down that route, or maybe have a better villain. I don't really like the villain in this movie, which is kind of the worst part. Next, we have WALL-E. Now, I know a lot of people love WALL-E, and it's definitely one of the most overrated films to me. For me, it sits comfortably at B, and it has kind of the Up syndrome. Well, I guess it's the WALL-E syndrome because it came first. And It's really the first film of Pixar's emo phase where everything is dark and sad. The first 30-ish minutes of this film are so good, like where Wally's on it by himself. He's collecting trash. He's got his own little collection. He's got his little cockroach buddy. Who knew cockroaches could be cute until this movie, right? But then the rest of it, like after he goes to space, is just kind of take it or leave it. Like he goes to the ship of diabetes and everyone's just obese and in their screens and drinking milkshake, and the villain is pretty bad. Like it's just the will, the AI. I didn't like the villain. The rest of the movie just I didn't like after the first 30 minutes. So for me, it just goes into the B tier. Monsters Inc. goes 100% into S without a doubt. For me, it's the best Pixar film ever. It has the iconic characters in Mike and Sully. It has such a great storyline. All the jokes are quality in it. I love how they pay homage to real life monsters. Like they have the abominable snowman in it. They mention Bigfoot. They mention the Loch Ness monster too. It's such a creative idea. Like it's so creative. It's such a solid movie. Like it's definitely my favorite, and it definitely deserves to be an S. Not much more I can say about it. Inside Out. I feel like people will hate me for placing this where I'm gonna place this movie. I feel like I might need to rewatch this one, but I feel like it's going in C, dude, or B. You know what? Inside Out, I put in C, a high C. I know a lot of people love this movie. I didn't enjoy it. I find the two main characters really irritating. Like Joy for me, she was so annoying. Like I don't know. She was just really annoying, and Sadness is also very annoying. So having to watch those two mainly throughout the whole film kind of irritated me. I didn't really feel any connection to like the elephant dude, and then he sacrifices himself. To me, it was kind of like okay. I didn't have an emotional connection to this movie. And I think that's more because I found the main characters insufferable. The other three emotions discussed, anger and fear, I kind of like their characters, but the other two I found very irritating. Joy just reminds me of them toxic positivity streamers on Twitch, that everything has to be positive and all that shit. And Sadness was just this depressed gloop who like just didn't really add much to the movie. And then in the end, they realized the whole goal that Joy isn't meant to be a controlly freak, right? And she hasn't got to control everything and make everything positive all the time. And I didn't enjoy it as much. Maybe I should rewatch it, but it's gonna sit there for now. Coco goes and sits in A easily. And if the plot line hadn't been spoiled for me before, I might stick it in S. This is the only modern one that gets an A for me. It's a really good movie. It has the twist villain too. Like you realize the bum loser guy is actually his great granddad. And in the end, his whole family is reunited. And he saves his granddad from disappearing. And like the whole De La Cruz guy is a fraud. And it's a really emotional movie. It definitely hits you in the feels. I like the dog character. He's like a little bit of a special dog, isn't he? But quality movie to me. I really did enjoy Coco. If I was watching it fresh for the first time, like I'd seen bits of it, and I'd also had the plot line spoiled for me before I'd watched the movie. But it's definitely a really good one, and it teeters the line of S to A. But I'm gonna put it in A for now. Next, we have Toy Story 2. Toy Story 2, easy S tier, without a doubt an S tier. My favorite Toy Story. I love how we get more adventures of Buzz and Woody, right? And this time, instead of saving Buzz Lightyear, like Woody has to go save him in movie one, they're saving Woody. There's the whole scene where Woody gets fixed and painted, so satisfying. The scene where Jessie is singing and like telling the story of how she got like disowned or given away. It's really emotional. I almost cried watching that. This was one of my favorites. Like we get some more Buzz Lightyear lore when they go to the store and there's the new Buzz Lightyears with the belt, Zurg and all that. It's just a great storyline. And then you have a twist villain again, like with Stinky Pete being the villain. Really good movie. I always enjoy this when I watch it. Easy S tier. And one thing they did is they added iconic characters into the second installment of it. Like Jessie is an iconic character, right? So is Bullseye, which was great. Next, Toy Story 3. I didn't really like this film back in the day when I first watched it, but I appreciate it way more now after rewatching it. It goes straight into S tier. And if this ended here, it would 100% be the perfect ending to it all. It's definitely the perfect ending to Andy's story. Like, it's very emotional. I love how the daycare is run like a mafia by the bear. The whole scene where they're all holding hands and about to fall into the incinerator is really emotional. And then that last scene where Andy gives Woody away. and sees him for the last time was emotional too. A really great plot line that I enjoy way more now after watching it for like my third or fourth time, because I hadn't seen it for a while and I hadn't enjoyed it one time before that. But as an adult, I appreciate it a lot more as I did as a kid. I'm not sure why, but it is what it is. S tier. Brave is one of those, man. I think it just about gets into the C tier. Like, it could easily be in the D tier. And I feel like Inside Out, I'm disrespecting a little bit here by not putting it in B. But Brave was very disappointing because I'd seen a lot of the trailers for it but never watched it, and it made her look like such a beastly warrior princess. When it comes down to it, she's just a glorified archer, really, when it comes down to it. The best character in this is the evil bear because he looks so fucking cool, but every other character is boring. Yeah, the mum gets turned into a bear, kind of meh. I didn't really enjoy it that much. It's pretty average. It just about beats out these two and scrapes into C. Onward. Onward. Onward, again, it teeters the line with Brave. It is going to go into C because it had potential. The universe idea is cool. The story idea is cool. The execution is poor. Every side character in this film is annoying, from the big manticore lady, the mum, the police officer stepdad. The main character's a big fucking bitch, which is irritating at times. The brother is extremely insufferable and like thinks knows everything. Like, I don't know why they made him insufferable as a nerd, right? It had such a great idea and concept, like the quest, but the quest was 2 stops. Like, they only had 2 stops. Like, the universe idea is cool, so I give him credit for that. But other than that, it sits in C tier. Could be in D tier if these 2 films weren't there. Toy Story 4. For me, this is a unnecessary movie, but still a good one. Like, it goes into A tier, and Forky is a great character. They added another iconic great character into the franchise. Bringing Bo Peep back was cool. And Woody leaving Buzz and the whole crew was really, really sad. I didn't really like the baby character, like the evil doll. Well, she wasn't really evil, but like the whole stealing Woody's voice box arc didn't really roll with me that well. She was just a copy of the bear from the third movie to me. It was still a very good movie nonetheless, and it sits in A. I think a great way to think about it is, if you don't think Toy Story 4 should have been made, is Toy Story 3 was the end to Andy's story and Toy Story 4 is the end to Woody's story. I don't think they're going to make another film like this. Maybe they can make a spin-off because this universe is so vast. Of course, they can go in, maybe give us a side character story, which would be very cool. But yeah, definitely a solid A. Toy Story is definitely one of the best foursome of films I've ever seen. Like, it might be the best trilogy. Not trilogy, but best 4-piece ever. Soul. Getting towards the end here. Soul was a good film, and I think it goes comfortably into B. I like the main character, and I like everything that goes on in the Earth realm. I think it's really well animated. I really do like the barbershop scene in there. It's just everything else in like the Death realm or the Godly realm, whatever it's called. Like with the Jerrys and Terrys, I didn't really like. It was just kind of meh. The little girl character thing is kind of annoying at the start, and the whole film you kind of feel like you're waiting for this guy to get back and play, right? You want to see the moral of the story, like, come on, man, hurry it up, get in your body. And it feels like they stall it out a lot. It did make me want to play piano, and it did give me a mini existential crisis thinking about what happens after death after the film. But for me, it's a solid B, and I've now seen it twice, and I don't really have any want to watch it again, right? Next, and finally, we have Luca. And Luca deserves to be down here in the C. It was a solid movie, but nothing that hasn't been done before. It just struck me as like a typical movie we've seen plenty of times by any animated studio. It was a cool idea, but again, very typical. I did enjoy watching it, but I have no want to watch it again. Would I make any amendments to this? Looking where everything ranks now, I think I will bump Bug's Life up to A and Inside Out up to B. I think looking at this is the final tier list I'll go with. I don't know why we have an F tier. Maybe it should have just been called the Cars 2 tier. But yeah, for me, this is how Pixar movies rank. My favorites, these are definitely my favorite films. So iconic. Very, very good films here. Solid, watchable, annoying. Hopefully you enjoyed this tier list video, man. I will be doing more tier lists like this in the future, so if you're new, be sure to hit that subscribe button and let me know what you think of it in the comments below. Suggest me tier lists you'd like me to do in the comments below, and I'll see you all in the next one.